Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Cafecito Chats. We have a special edition for you today. We are at the end of October. Crazy time, how the time is just flying by. But we wanted to bring to you a show about College Advice 101, and we're super excited. We have two wonderful guests here with you today. But before we bring them on, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my colleague, who is my true ride and die, who is with me on the shows, Liliana. I'm bringing you to the top of the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Dr. Cortez. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you excited? We're in our little sweaters and winter clothes.
Yes, I actually had to go buy me some like casual, not that I don't have any, but I wanted I'm like, let me go try on some different ones. But I love the one that you have on. I love the colors.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like every meeting I've gone to today, people putting out their weather. So for those of you that are not in Austin, it's actually nice, beautiful weather today, but it's nice and sunny as well. So we're excited to be here. But today we're going to be talking about college advice and pretty much life in college and what it's been teaching us. And Liliana, when I was getting ready to go to college, as some of you know that are joining us, but those of you that do not, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm the youngest of my family, the youngest of three. I was a first generation to go to college. It was a crazy experience because I didn't have anyone in my life who told me about college. I just knew from my mom, my grandparents, everyone that would just say, "You're going to go to college."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to college." And I ended up getting there. And, having that experience and learning as I went along, I think later in life, I wish I knew certain things. How about you? What was your experience? I know it's more non-traditional, but share with us what it was like for you.
Yeah, so I started my education like right after high school. I went to Austin Community College, so ACC. I finished my associate's degree there and decided, to continue. And similar like you, I was the first one in my family to go. So all the paperwork, all the essays, everything. I honestly had probably somebody like every season that helped me and guided me. If it wasn't for them, I honestly would have, I know I'm more than sure I would have figured it out, but it
Yeah.
would have been just more harder, more intense. So I think I had somebody to guide me each time. And then when I went to Concordia, of course, I was going full time to school and full time also working. So that added
Mm-hmm.
different kind of stress. But then once I completed that, I was like determined to still go to grad school, which I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but let's make it work. I had learned about their application. Every college has a different one. And I remember coming to you and I'm like, I'm thinking of doing it. You're like, do it. Like, go
Yes. Go
for it,
for it.
submit the paperwork, and just think about it later once you get the acceptance letter. So I think I definitely, think about your thoughts about, being first generation and doing that. And I know there's a lot of, individuals out there that were probably in our shoes, and I think we definitely hold that to our heart, and that's why we wanted to reach out to the two individuals, our guest speakers, to make sure if we could put some awareness of that and just some knowledge about you can do it, si se puede, and that you just have to have the right people to guide you through it and get that advice.
Yes, and I feel like when we had our intern that came on to one of our first shows, she was actually our first show, she was saying that it's such a unique time for everyone, especially if in your mind you have this thought about college and what that's going to be like for you, especially if it was your first year and you graduated and you were hoping life in the dorms, getting ready to party, going to football games, or whatever that experience was. It's completely changed now with COVID. So we are here today to share, and we brought some amazing speakers to share with you a little bit about what this life is like and to give you some encouragement and advice. We're going to be having Katy Oliveira and Jospeh Miller, great colleagues of ours, and we're going to be learning a little bit more about them. So Liliana, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you're going to be interviewing our first guest, so we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cortez. So with that being said, I'm going to have the pleasure to actually introduce Katy. And I actually met Katy as she was helping us with our web development. But the first time I met you, Katy, it was actually when you came to our retreat and you came and just provided us some advice. And my biggest takeaway when I met you was just your go-getting mind, but also you were very honest. And it was just like, life is hard, but you move on type of, attitude. Appreciated that, especially as a woman. So to introduce Katy to all of our viewers, Katy is the CEO and founder of College Hood Advice and started her business actually 3 years ago. But before I take all of, thunder away, Katy, I would actually love to hand it over to you. And if you can provide us with any personal background, any story that you would like to share with our viewers, we're, open ears for you.
Well, thank you, Liliana. I started College Hood. My background is working in higher ed for almost 15 years in a variety of roles. And the reason I even ended up in higher ed was because when I was in my teens and early 20s, I felt pretty lost. When I went to college, I was the first person in my family. So I'm a first generation college student. And my mother graduated high school, but my father didn't graduate high school. He has a GED. And so when I went to college, they didn't really know how to support me. And most of the people that I was around came from families whose parents were professionals who had graduated from college. I went to Baylor, and I was one of the only working class first generation students that were around me. And I found that I felt pretty lost. And I also felt really afraid to ask questions because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want anyone else to know. I didn't know what was going on. And so I kind of just faked it till I made it. And I kind of struggled through. And what I realized once I graduated and I went to grad school in history and I started to be a person who other students went to for help is that I wasn't alone, that it's really normal that we need help, and that needing help or not understanding or not know what's going on is not a sign that you don't belong there. It's actually a sign that you're just a human being who's who's growing and learning. And so I worked in higher ed for many, many years as a teacher, as an advisor, as an administrator, working to help students use their investment in a college experience to launch a life that they truly love, to harness their superpowers, to figure out who they are, to find a line of work that's meaningful to them, and to not leave their investment on college on the table because they feel silly or because they feel like they have to do something because that's what they should do or because they don't want to ask for help. I wanted to make getting support through the college experience normal and make it as accessible as possible. And so I first did that through working in higher ed here in Houston, at the University of Houston, here in Austin, at St. Edward's University, and then in the last 3 years, transitioned from teaching and working as an administrator at St. Edward's to launching my podcast, College Hood Advice, where we talk about all aspects of the college experience and how you can use your talents and the experience of college as a launch pad for your life.
Great, Katy. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper. I know you mentioned, you touch base on kind of your thoughts about creating College Hood Advice, but can we talk a little bit more, just kind of what drew you to start it? Anything that you would like to share, maybe that you experienced or that you can experience that, as you bring in individuals and you provide services for them, anything that you would like to share in regards to that?
Yeah. So I think that a lot of the support for college students is sometimes in the minds of experts. So going to an advisor or a mentor, which I absolutely encourage you to do. And sometimes it's in books. So maybe a textbook for how to be successful in college. Or maybe someone gives you a book when you graduate on how to be successful in college. And it's online in the form of blogs and YouTube channels and Instagrams that you can follow. But there seemed to be a gap between those resources that are generated by people who are living in a college experience in this moment, and those people who work with lots and lots of college students. And so the reason that's a gap is because there's a lot of ways to get it done. And if you follow one particular student blogger who all they know about college is their own college experience, and it sounds to you like, well, that's not really what I'm experiencing. Is that what I should be experiencing? Should that strategy work for me? You might feel like something's wrong with you. But the reality is that you're getting advice from one particular person's experience. And when you're an expert and you're sharing advice, you have a better sense of maybe multiple ways that an experience can look, different strategies that might work. So if you have a time management strategy, it might be that one's just not working for you and you need to scratch that one and try another one. But if you're only hearing from someone whose experience is just their own, then maybe you're not getting all of those other perspectives. And so I really wanted to provide a resource that brought experts from all walks of life, from all different experiences and all backgrounds to talk about different ways to navigate the experience, because I really do believe that there are so many different ways to get it done, and that sometimes it's just finding a way that works for you.
Great, Katy, and thank you very much for providing that. I know our tech support back there did add, your services. So if we can just touch base on your services and what you provide. I love the photo that we have in there because I really imagine you being like that as you're doing your podcast. But please feel free to share with our viewers what kind of services do you provide? And I know it's not just for students, so I'll turn it over to you, please.
Yeah. So the best way to connect with me and to get access to our services and resources is by subscribing to Collegehood Advice on your favorite podcast app. So two popular places that we are Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but we're also on Google Podcasts and really any podcast app that you download. I provide, at this time, Collegehood is providing just free resources in the podcast. I'm not actually offering coaching services at this time for college students, but I do support college students through a membership where they can text me and ask me questions if they have questions and want support. The other thing that I do is I'm not specifically just a website content creator, but I'm an online content creator. So I've started to help other businesses, creators, and makers produce content. So what that means is I may help you with content on your website, or if you would like to produce a podcast or social media content or blogs, if you want to teach a course online, then I support people who have great things to share, but maybe they don't have an education background or know how to convey content in an online environment. So I've been supporting business owners and thinkers and creators there as well.
Thank you for that. And, big shout out. I know I mentioned it earlier, during our conversation about just your support in developing our Cortez Consulting website. So maybe this is a plug-in for our Cortez Consulting website. So feel free for anyone that's looking, to create online content and want just a quick reference. You're more than welcome to check us out at cortezconsulting.com and look at, Katy's work as well. So I would like to encourage that. But back to kind of just the interviews here that we have in regards to how did your passion for helping college students begin? Any thoughts around that? And I know probably that was the seed that planted Collegehood Advice, right? But you mentioned your background, but I would love for you to share a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I think when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I think I mentioned I changed my major 7 times, and the thing that has always helped me is I loved helping my friends think about what they wanted to do with their life and to organize their schedule. And so when it came time to do your schedule, when I was in college, I would always helping people choose their classes and figure out what times they should register for their classes to make their schedule work. And I loved that. And so when I needed work in grad school, an opportunity came available, a position came available, and one of my professors asked me if I would like to do it. And it was for a program program at the University of Houston called the Scholars Community. And I needed work at the time, and I liked talking with students because part of being a teaching assistant when you're in grad school is to help the students who are taking the class. So you're sort of supporting the professor. And so I liked working with students. And I decided to take this job that this person offered me, and I loved it. I oversaw a mentoring program that supported students to be successful in college. And that's how I even got exposure to the fact that there was college support and that there's a whole college support industry. And so I sort of happened into it, but found that I really loved working with young people. And really, I like working with people in general to help them realize their potential and go for their dreams. And this is where helping people with their content comes in. It seems like those are really different pursuits, but they're really the same pursuit in that I'm helping people narrow down what they care about and share that with the world. And so I think as I evolve, and it's the same for my students, I teach that as you kind of move through your life and you have experiences and opportunities present themselves, if you sort of follow those breadcrumbs and kind of listen to what you're good at and sort of refine down the things you like to work on, you're going to get more and more clarity through your life about what it is you want to do along the way. And that's going to also just evolve. It doesn't necessarily stay the same. So even if you land on something, it may evolve again, because once you land on something, you get good at it, and then another door opens, and then you go through that door, and then another door opens. And so suddenly you have a really rich career rather than having one particular job that you stick with through your life. You start to have different careers that maybe on the surface seem like they're unrelated, but if you dig down and look more closely, they're very related, maybe because they use the same skill set, or maybe because they are kind of talking about something similar with different audiences or with different stages of life.
Great. And that's always, great to receive just some good advice. So thank you for that, Katy. I'm going to move on to our next question here. But before I actually ask you the question, I'm a good student. I did my research. So with that being said, you actually released it yesterday, which was your episode in regards to COVID-19 and getting you ready for college. And I actually heard it this morning. So I would love for you to share with us your, three main things that you really covered in this episode. And this goes out, we're currently still, facing this together. And I know, students could be having all sorts of emotions, but any advice that you would like to provide for them that can, just go a long way.
Yeah. And in fact, when you were introducing and you said, you can do this, you mentioned needing help along the way, and that you could have probably figured it out on your own, but that you used help, and that helped you move forward, right? And I think that's true, that you are going to hit difficulty in your life. So even if we weren't in COVID-19, you still would have hit challenges and uncertainty. And this experience is definitely, no doubt, amplifying that. But sometimes when we are in a crummy situation, there can be like golden nuggets that you can take away, or things that it can be a growth opportunity, because it's challenging you and it's having you work your edge. And so in that episode, what I talk about is sort of the three skill sets that you need, that this COVID experience is strengthening within us, that also will help you succeed in college and in career. And they are grit, time management, and self-advocacy. So grit is the ability to persevere and towards something that you're passionate for. So the ability to overcome challenges and to keep at something, even though you might face setbacks and it might be difficult. And of course, time management, our schedules and sort of the systems that kind of make our day run have shifted. And so you might be home, you might be going to classes online. You might find yourself with more free time. And sometimes when our structures fall away, it's harder to manage our time. And so we have to be more disciplined. We have to be more intentional about how we're using our time and structuring our day. And the final one is self-advocacy. So there are a lot of different approaches to COVID. It's impacting us in different ways. We're often having to communicate in a digital environment in a more than we ever have before. And so being able to set boundaries, being able to express and talk about our needs, being able to communicate with people, to ask for help is really important right now, I think, more than ever before. And so these three skills are also shown over and over again to be markers of success in college and in career. And so I think sometimes the feeling I've heard from students is, oh my gosh, my college experience is wasted. All of my future opportunities are gone. And I think that really is just that those things have shifted and changed, and there are some opportunities there that maybe you didn't anticipate or haven't yet revealed themselves.
Yeah, thank you for that. And anyone, that's out there, definitely feel free to check out Katy's website. Speaking of the website, I do want to highlight how people can get a hold of you and get in touch with you if they do have any questions. So we did create this slide for you, Katy, where people, of course, can follow you in Facebook and Instagram and can email you directly. So this kind of, concludes our interview. And again, this doesn't conclude you to be removed completely, Katy. We will bring you along with Jospeh as we wrap things up. But at this time, I'm going to actually ask our tech support if they can please bring in Dr. Laura Cortez. There we
Hi,
go.
Katy. Thanks so much.
Yay. Well, Dr.
Here.
Dr. Cortez, are we having some? Perfect. Okay. Well, Tag, you're it here. And
thank you. Thank you for a great interview. And we're grateful to Katy for all the just wonderful advice she shared. And if you guys didn't capture from just that interview itself, how amazing she is, how much great advice she has. And one of the things I love about her too is she's so comforting. So when you hear her talk, and when she talks about she always wanted to help her best friends, it's something that I've also noticed as a business owner working with her. She truly comes with her heart and she's just wanting to be of help and support. So Katy, thanks so much for that. Going on to our next interview, I'm going to be introducing a dear friend of mine. His name is Joseph Miller, but you will hear me call him Joseph, and that is because we have had a long, we have had a long professional and personal relationship. And so he is just a dear friend of mine who I've known for a very long time. So thank you for being here, Joey.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So, we have one of the things that we're going to be talking about today in collegehood advice and just advice about college. One thing that I'm extremely proud of you for is that we've been promoting this week your passion for helping students. And I do want to give you some just props. I want to read just a little bit about what he's doing, guys, because I think it's worth recognizing. I met Joseph in the nonprofit world. When we were working in a nonprofit organization, helping students with their leadership skills. And just to see him now over the past 20 years of his career continue to do that, it just speaks volumes. I know you're now a consultant, but I just wanted to read a couple of things that you've been doing. He currently serves on the executive board of the Texas Association for College Admissions Counseling. He's the co-chair for admissions practices and strategic planning. He spent 8 years working for various different high schools, of course, H-Town, Houston. Really proud of him for that. He also is part of the Admissions College Counseling Institute as faculty and as secondary curriculum chair. And he is also a member of the National Association for College Admissions Counseling. So I wanted to give you major props for all the work and dedication you're doing in the field.
Absolutely. It's been a fun journey for sure. And actually, it goes a little bit further than 20 years. This is my 28th year of college access, working with either students at the college level, being a college admissions recruiter, or being in a high school setting and working with them, gaining access from the high school arena.
And I know you personally, and we started our broadcast with a little bit about our personal story. So I'd love for you to share with our viewers about you and maybe how you also, when I know we were talking earlier, you mentioned your college journey and what that was like for you. So I'd love you to share that.
So again, I'm a first generation college student, like all of us on today's chat. And I find it very interesting that as I went through my journey, my mom and I, fun fact, hashtag, My mom and I actually graduated college the exact same year. So I'm proud of our family for persevering and getting to that point. And then after college, I worked for a nonprofit and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I moved to another state, pursued graduate studies, and then I worked myself into the admissions world. And that's where I felt the bug. And I was able then to continue working in that field. And that's where I really found my passion. I had a mentor a long time ago, and he said, "You have a gift. You don't realize it, but you have a gift with people. Continue using that." And that was my foray into working with families and young adults find their opportunities at the college and university level, is giving them the access. And whether it was through my own institution or another institution, when they came to me with questions, it was about finding the right fit for them. And that's really the most important thing, is finding a great fit, finding that home for you for the next 4 years, because college is a very big decision. And that's been the thing that I wake up every day with a smile on my face, sometimes a little crust in my eye, but a smile on my face, ready to go and look for homes for the students I work with and families I work with.
And I know we were showing there just a picture of you in this paper city in a sense.
Mhm.
And I know just even we mentioned early on the show, I mean, I know that when people are working through the college admissions process, it's not just one school, it's multiple schools. And so
Indeed.
what has that been like for you? And is there any special stories you want to share or motivation to people tuning in?
I think the biggest thing I can give you in that sense is, when people often think about the college search, they think about, well, it's this school or this school, and oftentimes it's the ones that they see play on Saturday. They're
Mhm.
playing football or they're playing basketball at the large schools. But with over 3,000 colleges just in the United States, there's a plethora of institutions out there that really could match what you want out of that college experience. And it's getting into those conversations where it's a deeper dive with the student and getting them to uncover those wants and those needs. And by often doing that, they discover more about themselves in that journey. And then they decide, well, I was going after this school because that's what I thought I wanted. But really, the more I think about it, these other schools have more in line with what I want. And so
Mhm.
it's that self-discovery of the student and the family that really, because they're only keying on that one school, that really is productive in my world. And that's what makes my heart sing, is giving them the options and opportunities.
And so are you just on edge during the time admissions decisions are coming out as the rest of the families? I'm sure you are.
Every year I've done this, I look at my email and I know it's happening. This school is going to release at this time. This school should be hearing, and I get the emails. Oh my God, Mr. Miller. Even some schools, when I was on the high school side, I would stay late in my office just so they could come rushing in. Um, there was this one student. I was working at a high school here in Houston, Cristo Rey Jesuit, and we were having a study hall. All the seniors were locked in together, we were all sitting around, and they were doing their stuff. And all of a sudden, he stands up, "Oh my God, Mr. Miller, I just got into college." And all
Oh,
the seniors were just like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
yay!
It was the best feeling, not just for
Oh.
me. I was elated for the young man, but it was every single one of his classmates were so thrilled. And it's that camaraderie and that kept me going in this field to realize that it can change lives. And so
Mhm.
it's
And
why I do.
it's the one thing I tell people, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but your victory through an experience of getting a college degree is everyone's victory, right? I mean, we talk about this as first generation and that I represent my family and so many Latinas who are looking towards this dream or this goal, but just so proud of you because you've been a victory and a part of all of these children's and these students' successes. And I'm sure it must be overwhelming when you probably also hear from them later on saying, this is what I
Indeed.
did, or this is what happened.
I just got a message, a Facebook messenger yesterday from one of my former students saying they were looking at doing some different things and looking for another opportunity. Do I still help, and do I know any people? Absolutely. It's not a just I'm going to get
Mhm.
you to college and bye. This is a resource that I provide students and families for a lifetime. And that's been always my
Mhm.
pledge to them, Just because I don't see you on a daily basis doesn't
Right.
mean I'm not here to help guide you through the life process.
That's amazing. And I know that you've been at St. Pius High School, KIPP Houston, Cristo Rey, St. Agnes Academy. So I want to talk a little bit about your transition to a consultant and with your new company, Comprehensive College Check. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
So I do everything that a normal traditional high school counselor would do. I just do it in a professional and private setting. So instead of having a caseload of sometimes 40 to 50 or greater, you're working with me one-on-one, and I have a very small caseload, so I can dedicate a lot more time and energies to what you're seeking. And that benefits the student, the families, when they are in those high school settings and they can't have access. And especially now with COVID, students that are, virtual learning, they don't have the same access. And so my company and I provide those services to give you that access, to give you those opportunities and those touch points and that freedom of understanding what those possibilities could be.
And what are you seeing the most coming towards you? I mean, are you seeing this? I guess tell us, how are you seeing the pandemic affecting families and students? What have you just been seeing anecdotally?
This, in the college admissions world, this is a very interesting time. We're all learning together. In the high school realm, in the students and the families and the colleges and universities are all understanding, this virtual learning space that we're living in. And then in the admissions world, where students haven't been able to sit for tests and don't have the same access to the summer engagements that we're going to do. I was going to do this summer camp. I was going to be involved in this internship. Well, those all went away. So everybody's on a very large learning curve now. And so my job is to stay on top of the game, to make sure that everybody, the parents and the students, understands what's happening. And I can reach out to the colleges and universities to find out, are their admissions practices the same? Are they doing things differently? Are they continuing to look towards being a test optional site? And there's a lot of work that's been done around that. And my job is to continue to give the students and families that information so they make clear and educated decisions at the end of the process and through it.
And I know we showed earlier a picture of your girls, and I say your girls, including your beautiful wife. But I just would love to hear a little bit about, I'm sure they're kind of like, okay, I got it in the hat. Dad's going to help me go through it. But what advice are you sharing with your girls, and how's it been like for your family going through this process as well, and just thinking about them going to college?
So just like any parent, it is scary to realize your daughters and your sons are getting older. And my daughters are now 13 and 6, or about to be 16 next week. And so it's crazy to think, oh my gosh, we're knocking on the time. We should be doing this. We should be doing this. Well, those conversations have been had over time. They understand what it's like a little bit from what I do. And I've just tried to engage them as much as possible so they know they're going to college. They know that they're going to think about that. But beyond that, it's about, think about careers. It's not just a name of an institution. It's, what do you want to do? And as Katy mentioned, having those services, what do you want to do while you're there? Let's find a home for you. Let's see what you're really into and see if we can find colleges that really match those points, several of them, and then apply and then make a decision based on that. So it's having those conversations with them now that I think is very, very important. It's never too early to start talking about college, and it's never too early to start planning for that. And that's one of the things I do, is working with families to start that engagement process, because it's scary. And I think people recognize that. I don't know how to talk to my son or daughter about that because things have changed since I went to school, right? A lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what that looks like. And as an independent consultant, I can help bridge the gap in those conversations.
And I want to show, we have a couple of slides, Joey. I want to show what your main services are, and we could expand a little bit about them. I know you talked about it as you were working through here, but we have a slide on the services that you provide. And just, you talked a little bit about giving. I think one of the things that's missing from this that we can't say from services is that you believe in the students and that you're giving them hope as they're going, because I think that's all they have right now, right? Is, I hope I did everything I could have done academically. I could have joined these things so that I could be an acceptable candidate. But we just wrote here some of the list of your services. You want to expand upon those a little bit?
I think that encapsulates a lot. Again, talking about what in the admissions world, what you need, working with them on understanding the testing environment. Can they register for a test? If it gets canceled, what do we do then? How is this college going to view it? How is this university going to view it? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about identifying those institutions and finding the good fits and the good homes for you. And then beyond that, let's see what else you want from that college process. Let's find out the opportunities to learn and to grow in places that you're going to feel comfortable and confident in attending, and having those frank conversations with the students and the family is really important.
Right. And we also have another slide of ways to get in touch with you. So you guys can find Joey. They do have a website that you can go to. They are on Facebook and Instagram, and you can email him. We'll be also sharing some of his information a little later on. What's one thing that you've learned about yourself in this journey?
I think the one thing I've learned about myself is that I never want to make sure, I want to make sure that I never sort of second guess myself. And I want to make sure that students and families, I'm not making up the story for them. The most important thing in this process to make sure that the student's voice is heard. And so I ask the questions of them continually to ensure that their voices are heard in the process, because I wouldn't want anybody else to write their story for them. So in the essays and the little short answer supplements, I want to make sure that their voice is loud and clear. And I give them every opportunity to do so, and coaching them up in that regard. It's critical to me that they do that.
Amazing. Well, I'm not surprised that you're continuing to do wonderful things out there, representing your parents, your family so well, and making sure that other students succeed in college. We're going to go ahead and bring Katy on. We have a last segment of the show, as well as Liliana. Bring them both on. And, one of the things that, thank you, Jospeh, for that. One of the things that we like to end in our last segment is we talk Cafecito Chats was started. Obviously, we did this in the office, was give consejitos. And so we're going to go ahead and start with you, Katy. One of the things we would love for you to leave our viewers with is, do you have a little bit of words of wisdom or consejito you would like to leave with everybody who's tuning in?
I think it's really important to remember that no matter where you come from or who you are capable of many things, and that all it takes is for you to get out there and do things and to lean on others for support and allow yourself to learn and grow. And so don't ever tell yourself that you can't because you're too old or you're too young or because of where you come from or whatever other limiting beliefs we tend to tell ourselves. You are absolutely capable of many things, and college is an opportunity for you to learn, grow, and develop so that you can live a life that you're really excited about.
And I was on mute. Thank you. That was wonderful. When we get to our real world, everybody's going to be like, we don't have to say that anymore. Are you on mute? Your mute mic's on mute. And then, Joey, what's your consejito? I know we talked about what you learned in the journey, but what's your consejito you'd like to leave with our viewers?
I think the most important thing in this process is to be the consumer. Recognize that you're there to learn as well. So you've heard this many, many times over your lifespan. There are no silly questions. There are no dumb questions. Your number one job in this process is to ask questions, and ask them of everybody that you can. So ask them of your counselor, ask them of your teachers, ask them of people that you see as role models. Get information from them, and then use that information to ask better questions, more informed questions. And when you run out of options, that's where I would want you to seek a person like myself, an independent counselor, to find the opportunities to ask all of those questions. And that would be the one piece of advice that will help you get through this process and carry you on through life.
Wonderful. Well, I can't thank you both enough. You guys can find Joey or Joseph Miller at Comprehensive College Check. We gave out some of his information. Katy, Oliveira, you can find her at College Hood Advice. Again, just a deep heart thank you to both of you for being here with us today, for sharing the wisdom that I know many of our viewers are going to take with them. And I think right now we're all just looking for some little nuggets of motivation. I think especially for our students. And I think if I was in this position today, I would be looking for as many resources as I can just to get me through. So again, thank you for being here with us on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
All righty, Dr. Cortez. So as we're wrapping things up, please, I would like to encourage our viewers, if anyone is interested in coming to our Cafecito chats and being a guest, we're actually going to be adding this to our comments, our form where you can easily sign up and get registered to come into our Cafecito chats to be a guest. I also do want to mention we have been working on our website, and I have to give kudos to Dr. Cortez. I tell her all the time she wears many hats, and a web developer is one of them too. So just know, everyone out there, our website does also have all of our Cafecito chats episodes. And just in case you want to see and find another platform, we do have our YouTube channel that we use as well to store our episodes as well. Dr.
And
Cortez?
this is places where you can find us. We hope some of you are tuning in through our social media. You can follow us or send us anything, questions. If you guys still have questions, please feel free to let us know for our viewers. And then the last thing, just wrapping up, you guys, we've had a successful, if I were to talk about semester, we've had a successful semester of Cafecito Chats. We have 2 more episodes to go. Our next episode will be November 11th. So we hope we see you here. We don't have our speaker yet, but we are looking for anyone who would like to come on the show. And then December, we are going to be dedicating to posadas and the specialness of having posadas during the Christmas time and all the wonderful food and the things that we all do in the Latino community. So again, just thanking all our viewers for tuning in. Again, thank you to Katy and Joey, our dear friends who came today and just inspired us and gave us some great motivation. So we'll see you next time for Cafecito Chats. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Great.